Hello again, crafty friends. I'm Chantel with Crazy Mom Crafts a Lot, back for another class video. Today's video, we're featuring the Nothing's Better Than bundle, and we're going to be creating these two super cute beverage themed cards. We're going to be using the Nothing's Better Than stamp set along with the dies. However, I'm going to share some ideas along the way if you only chose to get the stamp set, how you can still make these fun cards work for you. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the first card here, which is the Petal Pink card. To get started with this card, you're going to have a Petal Pink card base, which we're going to use in the horizontal format. You're going to have a piece of Coastal Cabana paper. You're going to have a piece of Whisper White paper. You're going to have some scrap Whisper White that we're going to be using to stamp and die cut out the coffee mugs. You're going to have a little bit of scrap Daffodil Delight as well. I will not be cutting out the coffee. Actually, I may or may not have this for you in the kit. This is something that I don't normally do die cuts for you guys. That's why I encourage you guys to purchase the bundle. If you don't have a die cutting machine, contact me and we can come up with something. So this piece may or may not be in your guys' card kit. But like I said, I typically leave that for you guys to die cut on your own. So you'll want to get a piece of basic black cardstock to die cut out the coffee and the cocktails. Okay, so let's get started with the rest of the card. To begin this card, we're going to work on our scrap Whisper White cardstock. And what I have done is I have mounted two of the stamp sets onto one block. I've mounted the interior shadow area and the exterior outline shape. And I mounted them onto one block. So here's a little tip for you. If you are just getting started or you don't have a lot of blocks or yours have disappeared around the room, you can mount them on alternating sides to use them, and that will work very nicely. We're going to start with our Memento black ink, and we're going to start with stamping our outlines first. I've tried it the other way, and I have found that when you stamp the outline first, it's much easier to fill in the outline than it is to try to stamp the outline around the filled in space. So we're going to stamp 3 of these, and then you'll need to die cut them out. Now, if you have chosen to only purchase the stamp set, and you do not have a die cut machine, what you can do instead is stamp your 3 coffee mugs on the larger Whisper White piece directly. Yours just won't be popped up, but that's totally fine. So there's an alternate for you if you chose to just purchase the stamp set. Just go ahead and stamp directly on the larger Whisper White piece of cardstock, and you can just stamp onto that. Okay, so I'm just going to clean my stamp real fast before I flip it around here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start filling in with my various inks. So first up is Coastal Cabana. I'm going to go ahead and ink that up. So that one's done. Super easy. We'll move next to our Daffodil Delight. Now these two stamp pads, if you don't recognize them, these are older stamp pads. I am still building my newer collection of stamp pads as well. I love how easy it is to line these up. So it's definitely a great way to go, stamping your outlines first. And finally, we'll do Petal Pink. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that. It's interesting trying to stamp a foot away from you when you're working with the camera. Okay, so I'm going to try something and we'll see how it works. Okay, so I went ahead and previously stamped and die cut these so that they would be ready to go. So I'm going to set these off to the side, and next we're going to work with this Daffodil Delight scratch paper. We're going to need to go ahead and stamp the Today's Plan Consume, and then we're also going to stamp Because Adulting is Hard. So hopefully you can see that. Try to pull that out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get those mounted for us. I'm going to do the same thing I talked about a minute ago. I've mounted both of these sentiments onto one block. Okay, so I want to show you guys. Do you see how the stamp did not stamp cleanly there? This is because my stamps are brand new and some of them I had not used yet. So what you want to do if you've not used your stamps yet, you want to go ahead and take your finger and rub off the leftover residue. You can use your finger, you can use a little white eraser, that works too. But you need to remove the residue from the manufacturing process. And I'll show you, you can, maybe you guys can see that. I hope you guys can see. You can see how much it even inks up now more cleanly. So can you all see the difference? How one stamps nice and clean and one didn't stamp cleanly. So if you're not getting a clean stamped image and your stamps are brand new, you do want to go ahead and get those prepped. And if you're having issues with getting a clean image, that may be the culprit. Okay, so I'm inking up the next sentiment. And I'm only going to leave a little bit of a space because we're actually going to be cutting these out. Oops, sorry, I'm so low down there. But do you see how nice and clean that image came out? So again, that's because I went ahead and rubbed my fingers over it before I stamped this image. Pardon my arm. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to chop these out. They do not have to be perfect. They're not going to be perfect. We're just going to cut these out. I do try to leave a relatively even border around, but outside of that, I am not measuring. I'm not doing anything else. Now, if you feel unsteady with cutting, you can also run these in your trimmer. You can, chop these up real fast in your trimmer, and that's fine too. But for this, I'm just gonna chop them up. That's it. All right, easy peasy, you guys. The next step is for us to begin to assemble our card. So we want to make sure our fold is at the top of our card base, and I'm going to go ahead and run some adhesive along the back of my Coastal Cabana strip. You are welcome to use liquid adhesive if you'd like as well. You can use glue dots if you have to, but a tape runner or liquid adhesive would probably be best. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this pretty straight. Okay, so I just adhered that almost straight on there. It's okay if it's a little wonky. We are going to end up adhering our Whisper White cardstock on an angle. So it's okay if both are even a little bit wonky. So I'm going to set this off to the side. And back to the Whisper White cardstock, I'm going to go ahead and kind of just eyeball where I want things to be. I know I'm going to want that there. And I know I'm going to want this kind of off to the edge here. And then I've gone ahead and I die cut the word coffee. What I did not do was poke out the insides. So if you have a little, take your pick tool or a little pokey tool, you can poke out if there's any leftover pieces. Do that real quick. Last one. Okay. So I have my coffee, and I think I'm going to have that go just about there. Whoops. So now what we need to figure out is where we're going to want our coffee mugs to go. So if we're going to follow the picture relatively closely, we've got one kind of over here, we've got one up here, and we've got one kind of off to the side here. Okay, so now what we need is the little steam from the stamp set. And the way we're going to stamp this steam is we're actually going to stamp off. Okay, we did not get another stamp ink color. Now, you're more than welcome to use, if you want to use gray granite or smoky slate, or if you want to use another color, that's fine. But what we're actually doing for this particular card today is we're going to stamp off. So I'm going to ink up my steam. I'm going to stamp off one time, and then I'm going to stamp it about where I want my Daffodil Delight cardstock to be, or coffee mug to be rather. Okay, so that guy's going to go there. This guy's going to go here, and it can go lower if it needs to, you guys. You know, whatever you need to do to get your coffee steam in there, it'll be just fine. So I'm going to scoot that down a hair, stamp off one time, and I'm going to have this one going off to an angle that way. I'll do it one more time for my Coastal Cabana. I'm going to put it just about there. Perfect. Oh, I love that. Okay, clean my stamp, put my lid back on, and now we can start adhering all of this down. Oh, yay. I love this card, you guys. It's so fun. So fun. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I've dumped everything off, as you can see. And I'm going to adhere my Whisper White cardstock first. And I want it to be a little bit kitty corner and wonky. So about like that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put some adhesive on the back of my sentiments that we stamped. And I'm going to have it go off the edge of the Whisper White just a hair. Okay, so that guy's down. Now I'm going to adhere my coffee because I want that to be right underneath. Use some of this liquid adhesive. Now you could take the silicone craft sheet and pounce along the back of it. You also could use adhesive sheets if you wanted to. When you're running this through the die cut machine, what you would do is you would have put the adhesive on the back of the basic black cardstock, and then you would run it through the die cutting machine, and that way it would already have adhesive on the back of it. But I didn't do that today, so I'm going to just adhere this with liquid adhesive, and I'm okay with that. So there's our coffee on there. And then I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go ahead and apply these guys with some of my mini dimensionals. Okay, so let's just pop a couple of these on here. My dimensionals, you guys, grew legs and ran off somewhere in my studio. Since I revamped the studio and moved to the new room. And I know they're probably right in front of my face. But we're just going to work with the minis today, and that's okay. Okay, so my first coffee mug is going to go there. My second mug is going to go there. And my third mug is going to go there. All right. Lastly, we'll go ahead and adhere our final, because adulting is hard. And I'm going to see, do I want it cattywampus? I think I'm going to make mine parallel to the bottom edge of the card. You guys can make yours go wonky if you want. But there we have it. How stinking cute is this card, and how encouraging is this going to be? You guys, you could send this card out and offer to have a Zoom coffee date with a friend, or have a phone coffee date with a friend. This is such a fantastic card, and so many people out there love coffee. So let's move on to our next fun card. Okay, so for our next fun card, we're going to start with the Coastal Cabana card, and I'll walk you guys through those pieces. So you're going to have a Coastal Cabana card base, and we're actually going to use this in the vertical book format. You're going to have a large piece of Daffodil Delight, and again, all your measurements are on the website. So, or excuse me, they're on the website too, but you guys will be getting these in an email tutorial. So you'll have all those dimensions. You're going to have a large piece of Whisper White. You're going to have a small scrap of Petal Pink. It'll be a various size. And you'll have a scrap of some size of Whisper White as well to stamp your cocktail drinks. Okay, so let's get started with this card. This card is super easy, you guys. So easy. So to start with the cocktails, I went ahead and I mounted 3 of my smaller stamps onto one block, because what I'm able to do is just stamp and clean and then rotate my block as I go. And I like to do this too with my smaller stamps, because I feel like it helps keep everything close by. And hopefully keeps it from getting lost. So we're going to stamp first. Put the lid back on my glue. Stamp first in the Memento black ink, and we're going to stamp our outline. Again, I found it much easier to stamp our outline and then try to fill in our outline than it is to go the other way around. So for this card, we're going to be stamping 2 of the cocktail images. Sorry about that, guys. So there's one. And there's the second. ahead and cleaning my stamp off on my chamois off to the side. I'll use the Petal Pink ink to fill in, and let me grab this fun little shape here on the stamp set is what you're going to use to fill in the inside of the umbrella. This inner stamp here, the shadow here, goes for the lemon. We're working with this outline right now, and then we're also going to use this outline to fill in the inside of our cocktails. So I'm going to stamp first with the Petal Pink ink. We've done that one. Flip it around. Got both of those done. Next, I'll go ahead and I'll grab the Daffodil Delight, and we will stamp our lemons. Okay, so both of our lemons are stamped. I'll clean my little stamp, and then we'll rotate one more time to stamp the interior of our cocktail drinks with Coastal Cabana. So there's one. I'm just tapping. I'm not pressing real firm into the foam. I'm just tapping across it. Line that up. And there's our second one. Okay, try this again. And there we have our two images stamped and die cut. I went ahead and did that in advance for time's sake. So we'll slide these two pieces off to the side now. And the next thing we're going to need to go ahead and stamp is our Petal Pink cardstock. Okay, and I've gone ahead and mounted our Today Is and Kind of Day. I've mounted those onto a B block and a C block. I know it's hard to see them at the moment. Maybe you can see them there. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and stamp in our Memento black ink. And I am not going to worry where this goes too much because once again, we are going to be cutting these out. Okay, so both of those are done. Clean my stamp quickly. Place my ink pad. And now I'm going to go ahead and just chop these up. So we have our Today Is A. I think I'm going to cut just a bit more off the edge of that. There we go. And Kind of Day looks good to me. So all those pieces are ready to go. So now we're going to go ahead and bring back in our Coastal Cabana card base and our Daffodil Delight card base. And we'll go ahead and adhere our Daffodil Delight card front, excuse me. So I'll adhere our Daffodil Delight card front onto our Coastal Cabana card base. And I'm going to adhere this parallel with the bottom. Again, you are welcome to change it however you'd like, but we're going to make our Whisper White cardstock go a little bit wonky. So I was happy to leave the Coastal Cabana and Daffodil Delight even, so that's fine by me. Okay, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is start putting all of this together. And I'm grabbing my cocktails die that I previously die cut out so that it would be ready, and I'm trying, what I'm fiddling with over here is I'm trying not to lose the eye, the top of the eye. Okay, so we have that as well. So I'm going to grab my liquid adhesive and I'm going to go ahead and adhere the Today Is A. And I'm going to put most of the adhesive on towards the right of the card because I'm going to leave just a smidge of it hanging off, ooh, hello, off the edge. About like that. Next I'm going to put in the kind of day. I'm going to leave a smidge of that hanging off the bottom down here. Okay. Next I'm going to go ahead and adhere the cocktails die. Again, to make this easier, you can use the adhesive sheets, and what you would do is adhere your black cardstock to the adhesive sheets before you run it through the die cut machine, and that essentially would turn this die cut into a sticker. So that's an option for you if you guys didn't know about that. But for the moment, I'm going to go ahead and use my trusty liquid glue. And I'm going to adhere my cocktails die kind of towards the left. And I'm going to put a tiny dot there just for the top of my eye. There we go. All right, so that's down. The last step here is we're going to go ahead and attach our Whisper White card front to the rest of our card now because we're going to put our cocktails up on dimensionals, and this will just make it easier to adhere it now. And you can decide if you want it straight on, you can leave it straight on. I like mine a little wonky. So that's how I'm going to attach mine. All right, almost done, you guys. I love these mini dimensionals too though because they get into spaces that the larger dimensionals can't really get into. Okay, so we have one. I'm going to kind of set it down here. I do want to point out to you guys, I know I've mentioned this in past, but I'll say it again. These little protective sheets that come off the back of your dimensionals, these can present a danger to both children and pets. So please make sure that they do get put into proper waste disposal receptacles because, again, if an animal was to get this, it can get caught in the back of their throat, and the same for a child. So you do want to kind of be careful to be diligent about picking those up when you're done. Okay, and then this one I'm going to set a little bit off to the side. And there you have it. What a cute card. It's perfect for summer. And given the fact it's 85 today in Arizona, even though we're almost at the end of November, I guess we get to drink cocktails year round. So there we go. So we have this card, and I'll bring back our other one that we made. Our fun coffee card. So thank you guys so much for joining me again today. I can't wait to see how your cards come out. If you have any questions, please do email, and I will be happy to respond and help wherever I can. And until next time, I hope you all have a coffee and cocktails kind of day. See you guys another time. Bye-bye.